Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, I was just kind of trying to show off my little spooky light there that I had going on there a second ago. But we're going to get into some really compelling, as it says in the title there, evidence that proves that ghosts are real. And some of them you probably have seen. Some of them we've seen before, but there might be some new stuff there as well. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting into this as we dive in.
Me too. Here we go.
Scientists can't make up their mind. Do you know what a scientist's job is? They use their big brains and resources to test things out and then decide whether something is possible. Now, let's be clear. Many scientists are convinced that ghosts aren't real, but none of them can agree on why people think otherwise. It goes all the way back to 1813 when a physician known as John Ferrara put them down to optical illusions. But other boffins will quick that too. Some claim hallucinations, others put it down to ball lighting or the limits of human perception. One guy even said poltergeist activity is down to humans not being able to process the low-frequency hum of air conditioners properly. Right. All this tells us is that the scientific community is pretty divided when it comes to a good haunting. So while we have no evidence to prove it, there's none to disprove it either. And that means there's a chance. Number 9, some scientists are looking for them. While there is some cynicism in the scientific field when it comes to ghosts, others couldn't care less about that and are much happier.
I think we were supposed to stop there at the...
There actually is something to all this. As well as being a mainstay on reality TV, paranormal research is damn serious, with some respectable people with bad-ass equipment hunting to see what's real and what isn't. That doesn't mean there aren't some proper nutbags too. There are. But the fact rational, strictly scientific folk are out there looking for evidence of ghostly activity kind of sums up how unsure the community is. And let's face it, they wouldn't keep looking if they weren't onto something, right?
Yes. Kind of go back to the first part, how the scientists haven't been able to disprove it. I think that's pretty critical after all these years. It's like, it's not quite the same as like UFOs, UAPs. Because a lot of this stuff has been going on for a lot longer. I mean, I guess you can say if you believe that aliens is like the ancient alien kind of theory, but if you're looking at like the myths and legends of societies, all kind of match up in a lot of ways and have a lot of similarities. And scientists have not been able to disprove anything about it yet. So to me, that's pretty goddamn compelling. And again, it goes into the second part of it that there are some scientists that are looking for this stuff, and like not just like crazy people, but like really legit scientists.
Right.
It's not just a pseudoscience as much as it used to be.
Right. And I think, well, I mean, yes, calling it a pseudoscience does not help matters because, but it is still
Stupid.
It is still very pseudoscience in the sense that it's not widely accepted, right? So
no, but I mean, but and that's the thing. It's like you would expect that scientists would, real scientists would like want to get involved in something like that, just for the fun of it, even if nothing else but that, and to like get into it and like like J. Allen Hynek, who was like a debunker of UFOs, became a proponent of the phenomena after all the research that he did. Right. I want more people like that who are open-minded, are going to get in there and like really look at it, because I'm an idiot. I can't possibly do all these kind of things. I could operate like an EMF. I can, I can understand infrared a little bit, but like, come on, we need people who are really on top of things to get into this and take it seriously.
All right. Well, I think we'll find that out here shortly.
Number 8, all those creepy photos. Let's not pretend there aren't a bunch of photos pertaining to ghosts that aren't, well, lies. Photoshop has made that even worse than ever.
That's you.
The problem. However, when we move into certain eras where a lot of creepy photos do exist, that situation changes. There simply wasn't the tools to muck around with the picture. A lot of these from back in the day seem to show ghoulish visitors that are beyond explanation. Take the brown lady, which was taken at Raynham.
Yeah, we've seen this one a few episodes ago. Yeah,
that is a fake. Good grief, is that an impressive fake? And there's plenty more besides. In one, a group of RAF pilots were joined by their mechanic in a photo, which is lovely, until you find out that guy had died 2 days prior.
Jesus.
Yeah, did we see that in another video? I think that's kind
I don't think so. I don't remember it, but that I have seen that before, and that is fucked up right
of
there. That is like really good evidence right there. I mean, that you can't make that up in those days. You can't Photoshop that, right?
well, it's not even like it doesn't even look like it's like a double exposure type of thing because there's no hat in
Exactly.
on the guy that's in the back there. That's creepy.
It's so creepy. It gives me chills even looking at it. And I think that anybody who would do some research into this, it can't be debunked. It's not debunked. If it was debunked, they wouldn't be showing it.
Right. And that's a proof that was the you know the point of
The
the style
premise, yeah, yeah, yeah.
is that they it's not easy to fake. So all right, let's continue.
Number 7, Einstein may have proven their existence. Let's
Oh.
not get into the specifics here because all our minds will simultaneously explode and we don't need that. But you probably know that Einstein was a big fan of the theory of relativity. In this theory, there's some inklings that an infinite number of realities actually exist, and that because of that, ghost sightings aren't actually ghost sightings, but beings that are living in a different existence that have bled through to our reality. Even more terrible.
Mm.
Following on from that is Dr. Henry Stapp, a quantum physicist who, along with some buddies, thought that a soul was simply quantum processing in our brains that allowed us to be conscious, meaning when we died, all of that was released into the world from our brains. If true, the theory stated this consciousness could live on as a mental entity and even potentially possess others, which does tick a lot of boxes. Admittedly, it does sound like something Derek Acora would say, but he's not a quantum physicist.
Yeah, I like the idea that they brought in Einstein to that. I didn't know that. That is true. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's something new to me. But yeah, I mean, we had an episode previously about the multiverse. I don't think it really talked about this necessarily. It's a little bit different on what they're talking about here.
Well, it's also bringing up a little bit of the gin that we talked about in a different episode.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So, all right, let's continue.
good stuff.
The stone tape theory. The stone tape theory goes thusly. Ghosts that we see are residual hauntings and not the traditional lost of the earth. Instead, they're recordings of traumatic events that have imprinted themselves onto the environment where they happened, playing on an infinite loop. These ghosts aren't dangerous or even self-aware. Basically just a VHS tape come to life. Pretty popular when it debuted through a TV show in 1972, the idea eventually evolved into moments of tension or stress in someone's life, causing great amounts of energy to be released. And then that energy can be absorbed by inanimate objects, causing a lot of nonsense to go down. I mean, a lot of that is silly, but there is some proof that suggests minerals found in videotapes that allow
There it is. There it is.
also exist in the natural world too. Meaning, maybe life can film itself.
Yeah, that one 100% buy. It makes a lot of sense to me scientifically, even because even if you look at like what there's like the priests, not priests, but monks, or maybe they were priests back in the old days. They were recording their chants on records on vinyl, right?
Right.
And where did that come from? It wasn't it wasn't that they created it, right? That was created through different minerals and things that it goes into making whatever. I don't know how they do it, but the fact that it was caught on tape is enough to lead me to believe that that's not like some guys like, oh, I'm gonna fake being a ghost on this record. I know, no, that's not possible to me.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense that those things were, and also with the idea of the residual hauntings, we've already sort of talked about that. But anyway, yeah,
Right on.
Hauntings affect house prices. Ghosts aren't real. When a house is associated with a haunting, its price drops. It can be so bad that in America, a realtor was found liable for not telling a customer a house that had already been sold. So basically, in US law, ghosts are real and corrupting the housing market. A lot of people think this
goes back to the Hell House. Maybe
a survey showed that 1 in 3 people think their home is haunted, and this can actually entice people into spending more on a property as well. Take Nicholas
33%.
Without the cash to buy a mansion in New Orleans that was apparently haunted. That's not the only time such things have happened.
I didn't know that. That's an interesting stat. 33% of people think that their house is haunted. I mean, is that just like, I wonder what that's based on? It's like, oh, I know my house is set. Like I know in the place I live right now, I hear some noises every now and then, but I know it's just because of the house. It's
And
like clearly it's not right.
we got to think about the sample size of that, whatever, whatever they surveyed that came up with that stat.
I mean, I think that's probably accurate, though. I think a lot of people do think that their houses are haunted, and whether or not it's like you take 33% and you get it down to maybe it's like maybe only 5%. That's still a lot of people's homes that might be haunted, right? A third of Americans is a lot.
Well,
5%, I can
right.
see that.
Yeah. Um, but it's kind of funny that the video also mentioned that there are people who are purposefully buying haunted houses.
Yeah. So does that really reduce the value? I don't know. Maybe.
All right, let's go.
Number 4, the testimony of Dr. Peter Fenwick. Dr. Peter Fenwick was a neuropsychiatrist. It's why when he talks about near-death experiences in the afterlife, you can buy in a little bit more than when, say, your nan tells you she had a chat with Elvis. His main argument was that the brain and the mind are two separate things, and then when you die, they each go their own way. So very much reverting back to the whole energy release we were chatting about earlier. Fenwick was also intrigued that when his patients talked about near-death experiences, they were always extremely similar, no matter what their background or self-belief system was. This led to him
Yeah.
studying cardiac arrest, given that although the heart has stopped, and therefore the brain, individuals can still have these experiences, which suggests that consciousness and having a brain do exist independently of each other, which again means when you see a ghost, it's not a ghost and is in fact someone's consciousness, just doesn't have a home.
Kind of harkens back to a little bit to the last episode or 2 episodes ago, maybe about what is it? Biocentrism.
Biocentrism. Yeah, but to me, that one makes a lot more sense. This talking about it because you hear so much of like when people do have a near death. This is more about the near death experience, I think, is what he was talking about.
Mhm.
And when people have this like astral projection kind of thing, and like you could see yourself above the hospital bed, for instance, right? There are
Right.
numerous stories of that happening, and that to me is real. That to me is not like somebody. How would you make that kind of thing up? How could you see the people who are in the room if you're like if your eyes are closed and you're unconscious, you're on the near state of death? How can you come back and accurately tell people it's like, oh yeah, I know so and so was in the room, so and so was in the room, I saw it, I was above it, I saw it.
Yeah.
That is a little different than the whole reincarnation thing.
Yeah, and it's not just, the because obviously it was talking about like how the brain exists separate from the mind exists
The
separate from
mind,
the
yeah,
soul,
yeah,
and how obviously, if it continues to perceive the world in some way, that's one thing. But to your point, like if in terms of like the people who have near death experiences where their spirit or whatever consciousness is floating above their body and they are able to describe accurately the things that are going around them, that's definitely separate from the other theory there. So
yeah. It's kind of tied. It's tied to the body still in some way. There's still some chance of coming back. You're not seeing the light yet, I guess, right? So
all
anyway,
right, let's go.
Number 3, their prevalence in popular culture. For as long as anyone can remember, ghosts have had their place in stories to try and scare people. Even during periods where horses ruled the earth, there were still spooky tales of things that go bump in the night. A huge reason for this is because it taps into some primal fear we all have of such things. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what happens when we croak, and of course, the hell of ghosts. So why tell these stories if there wasn't something to them? Is it because we're drawn to something we're actually not too sure about? That, ghosts are real? If not, whoever invented them should be loaded by now. That is some serious longevity.
that's true. I mean, I guess you'd think if it was something that was so easily debunked and like, oh, it's BS, then it wouldn't still be around, maybe. But at the other side of it, there's the human nature to like to love legend and lore, and want to get into that kind of stuff as well. That's the reason why, hell, we even still talk about Odin and Thor, who are actually real deities in the Scandinavia, or like the Greek myths and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of escapism and also uh not wanting to be responsible.
Yeah, yeah. This so to this point, this is the least compelling piece of evidence, but I like. I mean, I appreciate where they're going with it. At least
All right,
they're trying.
here we go.
Number two, the sheer number of ghost sightings. Made up stories are one thing, but you've also been hearing about people actually seeing ghosts for hundreds of years. There's been so many first
Thousands.
sightings and experiences of ghostly interactions, you can't just ignore it or suggest they're all lies. And sure, there's loads of explanations as to what these could be, but again, no one knows. And not everyone that has seen a ghost is nuts. Perfectly reasonable people have told many of the same tale, and this will probably continue until the sun blows up, until someone can recreate this in a lab. But that's never going to happen, because if it could, it would have already. It ultimately comes down to you and your own thoughts, and many people are going to be convinced that what they saw is real.
I agree. The sheer number of the reports of ghost sightings across history, and I think the guy said hundreds of years. It's gone thousands of years, right? It goes way beyond that, and it ties in a little bit to the UFO UAP phenomenon, and maybe not quite as much because that's more based on more recent kind of sightings, but the fact that these things have appeared, whether it's a poltergeist or a residual haunting, or it's an intelligent haunting, or it's demonic, or whatever it happens to be, there's so much evidence that says it's there. And you can't just say, oh, these people were just like so stupid. They didn't know science. They're just all religious and they didn't understand anything. You can't say anything like that. I think there's enough evidence to suggest there's something else going on.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to ghosts, as a premise, right, and when it comes to ghost phenomenon and interaction,
Ghostal.
encounter, and
Right.
encounter, um, it's the same format over the last hundreds of years, right? It hasn't really changed. Like a residual haunting is a residual haunting. Poltergeist is a poltergeist. You know, the a phantom
Yep.
lady is a phantom lady. It's the same format all over these hundreds of years. So, yeah, there's so to the point of this video, the sheer number of reports, sightings, whatnot, and it's the same format. There's consistency. It's hard to invalidate that.
I agreed. Yeah. I mean, and it'd be foolish to try to do that. I think it makes more sense to try to understand the phenomena rather than try to debunk it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's bring it home here.
For one, how they persist through human culture. All cultures throughout history have had their own versions of ghost stories. That is kind of weird, especially because inherently ghosts have no impact on the world around them other than to freak someone out every now and then. But whether you're talking about Shakespeare, religions, poetry, or even the Ouija board, the idea of a spirit or apparition never really goes away, and it's something that everyone on Earth basically understands. They've been around since day one, pretty much. Even society 11,000 years ago would hint at ghostly happenings, and that shows just how deep this thing runs. So
Hmm.
surely, there's something to it all. No?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's persistent and very similar and consistent. Like as we were just talking, it kind of sort of repeated the same thing, but it's like, you know, and again, if you're a scientist, a real scientist, you're going to look at that. It's like, okay, this is a repeating phenomenon. It's not like, and there's certain categories that are very, like you see the similar things all over the place. Why wouldn't you want to investigate that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even so I mean, I know I was kind of devaluing the 33% from earlier stat, but it would be interesting to find out how much, what the percentage is of all of the ghost sightings. What percentage of those ghost sightings were told by people who are crazy? And if it's a small number, then you could put credence on the bigger number of ghost sightings that were told by people who are perceived to be more credible than not, right? And you're frozen.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I would say if, oh, am I
You're
there
back.
again? What is going
You're
on here? Oh my God. Okay. Well, anyway, I was saying I heard all that. Yeah, and I agree. I think if it was, yeah, you gotta understand there's going to be people who are just crazy who are just going to do kind of attention grabbing things. Maybe they have
Yep.
mental illness. It was something, they're just afraid of the dark. I mean, whatever it happens to be. But there's so many other people who are credible who are not like that, right? I think that the majority of the reports are from people, again, and it kind of ties in a little bit to the UFO phenomenon, who are not crazy, who just are seeing things that they can't explain. It doesn't mean that it's a UFO. It doesn't mean that it's a ghost necessarily, but if you add them all up over time, that's what you have to look at, and the consistency of the different types of reports. And so looking at it from that perspective, it's very difficult for me to believe that it does not exist, or there's not a phenomenon there as far as when it comes to ghosts.
Absolutely. Good video. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, click that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.